Hey, what's going on, friends? Welcome back to the Daily Dose. We are on day number 3 of our yearly Bible reading plan. And for today, we've got verses 8 through 11, chapters 8 through 11 in the book of Genesis. And we've got chapter 3 in the book of Psalms. I have been attaching a PDF copy of the scripture reading plan to the bottom of these posts. But every time I do that, it's been adding an additional file into the files section of the Facebook group. So there's a whole bunch of duplicate files that don't need to be there. So instead of putting a link and attaching the PDF document to these postings that I do, if you need a copy and you have not yet got one, please navigate to the Files tab on the Facebook group page, depending on if you're mobile or if you're on a laptop. It's going to be in a slightly different location, but it should be somewhere near the top of the page, give or take. So continuing on, we're also going to post a link below with a read scripture video. That'll give you a little bit more insight on some things that are going on in the book of Genesis. As far as the summary of what happens in today's section of scripture, last time we left off, we had Noah going through the flood experience. He finishes up that experience with the flood, and the ark comes to rest and the ground dries out. After that, God makes a covenant with Noah. So you'll learn about that as you read today. And then we get into what happens with the Tower of Babel, which is an interesting story as well. A couple of points of interest that I just wanted to touch on briefly today before I let you guys go is chapter 8, verse 21. Let me read that real quick. And I'll back up a little bit just so we can get the context of it. I'll go back to chapter 8, verse 20. It says, "Then Noah built an altar to the Lord, and there he sacrificed as burnt offerings the animals and birds that had been approved for that purpose. And the Lord was pleased with the aroma of the sacrifice, and said to himself, I will never again curse the ground because of the human race, even though everything they think or imagine is bent toward evil from childhood." So many times I've heard just people in general say, humans, we're basically good. For the most part, most humans are good. Down in the depths of their core, most people are good and honest and ethical, aside from a few exceptions, like serial killers and things of that nature. And that is a straight lie according to the scripture. The scripture says, and let me say that again, the scripture says that everything they think, meaning the human race, everything we think or imagine is bent toward evil from childhood. Another version describes it as every inclination was evil from the time of birth. So in case there was any confusion about the heart of man and whether or not we are basically good or not, the Bible clearly tells us that we are not basically good, that every inclination we have from the time that we are born is bent towards evil. That was the first point of interest that I wanted to talk about today. The other thing is actually kind of a weird story, and different people have different views on what's going on here, but in chapter 9, around verse 20, there's a story about Noah. And after the flood's over and he gets off the ark, it says that he tends the gardens and the plants and vegetables and the crops, and I guess he makes wine. And he ends up drinking too much. He gets intoxicated, and I guess he falls asleep or passes out in his tent naked, not wearing any clothes. And Ham, one of his sons, comes in there and sees him naked, and then runs outside and tells Ham tells his brothers, Noah's other sons, hey, look, Dad's in there naked. How shameful is this? And then the other brothers decide that, they want to cover him up. So they get some sort of a blanket or a sheet, put it over their shoulders, and they walk backwards into the tent so that they don't have to see their father naked. And then they flip the sheet down on him so that his nakedness is covered. Once Noah wakes up and realizes what happened, he becomes extremely upset with Ham, and he actually puts a curse on Ham's bloodline through his son Canaan. Now, what is going on here, and why did that become such a big deal? And it's almost like it's kind of cryptic. If you look at some of the commentaries, for one, the Asbury Bible commentary, that suggests that this whole scenario with Ham coming in and seeing his father naked, it suggests that that is some sort of a euphemism for some kind of sexual indiscretion, like there may have been more going on here than what the writer chose to write, but in order to be somewhat tactful, they chose to kind of minimize what they said. That's one opinion. Another opinion is from Matthew Henry's commentary, and this one is focused more on just the shame involved with being naked, like when Adam and Eve were in the garden after they sinned and they realized they were naked and they were ashamed. Um, some tend to think that there was a tendency of being ashamed that was associated with nakedness, and that it was extremely degrading, and that it was something to be avoided at all costs if possible. And the folks that take this view think that possibly Ham went in there and saw his dad passed out and he was naked, and he looked at him and didn't try to help him and cover him up. He just kind of looked and maybe chuckled to himself. And then Ham goes outside and tells his two brothers, hey, look at what dad did. Can you believe that? He got drunk and he's naked. Look, how ashamed is he? So, in any case, we don't know exactly what happened here and what all of the nuanced details were. But what we do know is that whatever happened, it was pretty serious in Noah's eyes. And Noah did put a curse on Ham's bloodline that would go down through his son Canaan. And we'll see some interesting things play out involving that a little bit later on. But in any case, that's all we got for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the reading. I hope you enjoyed the video. And I hope that you will go click that link to check out the Read Scripture video. Until tomorrow, have a good day, have a blessed day, and I'll see you then.